Hi, my name is Josephine Briggs. I'm an involved member of our community. I'm a co-chair of the Lafayette Youth Advisory Commission. And so as a commission, we work to better the climate, the overall climate of Lafayette for our youth. And I'm also, in a more broad sense, at the state level, a part of the Safe to Tell Youth Leadership Board. So we target restorative justice in specific schools statewide. Yeah, so in my experience with ELIAC and the Safe to Tell group, I found that oftentimes when a person is simply facing consequences for their actions, it's not, I feel like the synapses in the brain don't quite get formed because they feel like, well, you know, I did this action and then this happened, but there's no why that happened and why that action was taken. And through ELIAC, something that we've been able to do, we've worked through police-teen relationships and things like that after we're working right now to abolish the youth curfew for Lafayette's youth. After a study we looked at showed that it was disproportionately affecting Lafayette's youth of color. And so we've been working with the police to kind of just reform relationships with our youth and things like that, and that has really shown, I found benefit on the teen side, and I've also seen benefit on the police side where they've really been able to see our perspectives and how we're feeling in growing up in Lafayette, and we've also been able to see how they experience Lafayette and what they're trying to accomplish in their jobs. Mm-hmm. I would say that it's really rewarding. I think that it's rewarding for both parties involved. You get into some kind of an altercation or conflict or something like that, and you're able to just sit down and have a really calm conversation and reflect upon yourself and also share where you were at mentally when you did whatever happened or when you experienced whatever happened. I think that, you know, a big issue that our youth is facing right now is vaping and tobacco products, and I know that a lot of the time, so I went to middle school in Boulder, I went to Manhattan Middle School, and we had a really great restorative justice program, and a lot of my friends who had been involved in situations with like vaping or anything like that, rather than just getting suspended and getting their products taken away, which obviously did happen, they were able to really understand it was affecting them and it was really hurting them, and our administration was just looking out for them later on down the road. I think that it's the most effective way of handling things long term, because I think that through restorative justice, you're able to gain life skills, number one, of communication and just learning from your mistakes and learning how to apologize and learning how to receive an apology and accept an apology without always having to forgive someone, which I think are some really crucial things that you need to learn as you come into adulthood. And I think that really, when you're a parent or a teacher or someone that's heavily involved in a person's life, you realize that you just want to make them a good human being, and you just want them to grow up and have a great life. And through restorative justice, you're able to teach them those skills that they need to grow up and be able to communicate with people and be able to just live a happier life. So I have a friend of mine who goes to my school. She was sexually assaulted by another young man who goes to our school still last year. And she had to go through this entire school year with him and being in his presence. And before the beginning of the school year, there was a conversation that she sat down with our administration, but he wasn't present for that. And they, you know, our administration said, well, we won't put you in any of his classes and you'll be separate. But there was never a conversation had where she was able to sit down with him. Not that that's what she necessarily would have wanted, but she's been in therapy, you know, and talking about things like that, and she's really realized that it would have been a lot more helpful if she could have just looked him in the eye and said her piece and what she needed to say. I think particularly looking at it just in this case from a sexual assault lens, I think that when there is clear public steps taken, when you see like, oh, this is the conversation that they were able to have a space where they could talk about what was going on, that sets a precedent for other people to look at and see that if they're a victim, they can come forward and they can have their voice heard and they're able to talk about the things that they've been through. And I think that it really will do wonders to destigmatize victims speaking out about what they've been through. like I said, I think that your mental health is really, it's formed in your youth, and I think that your ability to deal with conflict and to deal with relationships and things like that is really formed in your childhood and in how you're taught to deal with those things. And so I think when we have restorative justice particularly focused on youth, we're able to see that they will develop those skills and they'll be able to take them with them into adulthood. And I think that it'll just make our world a better place.